Okay, we're live. Well, we should be live anyway. Hello and welcome back to the Football Rundown. Of course, we're back here Friday night, bonfire night. Well, it's not bonfire night. That was Wednesday, but there is fireworks going off, and hopefully we'll have fireworks going off around Stockport come the end of the season, because Stockport County currently top of the League One table. Of course, they take on fellow Hatters, Luton Town, tomorrow at 3 o'clock. And obviously we had the FA Cup last weekend, so it's kind of distracted a little bit away from the what's been happening in League One. But last time out we beat Port Vale away 3-0. Top spot. Obviously we expect we're probably going to lose that at some point. Probably even maybe tomorrow, because there are teams with games in hand. So we do understand that it's kind of a little bit of a false position still at the moment, but it's been a really, really strong last couple of weeks. It's for Stockport County, and that's been shown in the FA Cup, but also, as I say, the form in the league. What is it, 4 in a row? I think in the league now we're looking to make it 5 in a row. League wins, with a win tomorrow against Luton. The first time we played them in 20 years. We've not faced them since I think it was January 2005. So it would be it will definitely be a special occasion. There's no doubt about that. But like I say, first time we played each other in 20 years. It's the first time, should we win tomorrow, that we've beaten them in 57 years. So it really would be a big win tomorrow, not just because it's been 57 years, but also Luton Town, probably going into this League One season, we're probably regarded as one of the biggest teams, if not the biggest team in League One, in terms of, they're in the Premier League just 2 years ago. So they're definitely the team that I think that a lot of people going into this season would want to beat. Obviously currently find themselves 10th in the table, so it's not been a great start to the season for Luton. I think it's fair to say, they've already changed the manager as well. The man they took from Wycombe last season, I think it was Matt Bloomfield, who jumped ship from being in a fairly comfortable position last season with Wycombe, and then obviously making the jump up to the Championship. It was very much a short jump to the Championship, because he soon came back down with Luton, and obviously he's lost his job since. And there's a similar sort of situation happening this season, to be honest, a bit like that, and between the Championship and the Premier League, because we're seeing at the moment, looks like Rob Edwards is increasingly likely to take the Wolves job. Currently at Middlesbrough, they've had a decent start to the season, and it looks like he's going to make the jump to Wolves. And I think that'll be a short-term jump, to be fair, to the Premier League, because I think that Wolves will probably find themselves in the in the Championship in the next season. To be honest, sinking ship. So yeah, similar situations happening between Middlesbrough and Wolves. It looks like, as to what's happening, what happened with Wycombe and Luton last season. There's parallels I think you can draw from that. But yeah, we've already got someone in the chat saying evening. Thank you very much for that one. Good evening to you. Hopefully everyone's doing well. It has been a while since we've been on the channel. I think the last bit of content that went out was the Port Vale match vlog. Didn't do the preview for Tranmere, and had a couple of things that got in the way, which basically meant I didn't get to the game as well for Tranmere. So disappointed with that one. It was a good win for us again. Ollie Norwood's free kick, unbelievable. It feels like we've already had a few free kicks like that already this season from him. I think back to the one against Burton as well. So he's just showing that quality that he's got, and he seems to be one of these players as well that seems to get better with age. Almost, it sort of ages like a fine wine. So yeah, I think Ollie Norwood, very, very good free kick from him, and I'm sure we'll have a few goals from free kicks from him at the end of the season. We can look back on and say which one's the best, and I think it'll be a hard choice. Also in the chat as well, Wolves versus County could be a real possibility next year. Well, yeah, with the way it's going at the moment, the way Wolves are looking, constantly selling their best players year after year. Stockport County seems to be adding to it at the moment. And like I say, that they get promoted. If Stockport County get promoted this season, then I think there's a very good chance Wolves get relegated from the Premier League, and I think there will be two teams that will probably meet next season in the Championship. When was the last time we played them? Life happens, Rob. No need to apologise, mate. Thanks very much for that comment. And he's also saying, fancy us to beat this plastic Hatters 3-1. Well, we've started early with that one, haven't we? Who's the real Hatters? Battle the Hatters, call it what you want. Like I say, first time we met in 20 years, and it will be an interesting one. I mean, I suppose if you're a Luton fan, you're coming into this. But Luton win the Premier League. They got promoted at Wembley the same weekend, I think it was, that we didn't manage to get promoted to League One. So it's funny how football works, isn't it? It's funny how football works. They got that day out at Wembley. They got the result they wanted. They went to the Premier League, but it just didn't seem to go for them. they were always fighting an uphill battle. To be fair, most teams in the last couple of years, you go up to the Premier League, very rarely do you manage to stay up. And I think that look, we're seeing something a little bit different this year in the Premier League. We are seeing the likes of Burnley and particularly Sunderland giving it a really good go. I mean, I think Sunderland will do really well this season. I'm happy for them. They're a big club, and they do deserve to be up there in the Premier League. And I think it's refreshing to see teams go up and really give it a go. Now, look, we're still early on in the season. There's still a long way to go, and who's to say that a couple of months down the line, Sunderland don't find themselves in a tricky position. But at the moment, they've started the season really well, and I'd say it's pleasing to see because, let's face it, if County go up to the Championship, who knows what can happen from there? The owners put out a plan. I think it is they want to be in the Premier League at some point, Stockport County, and we want to believe if we get to that point that we've got an opportunity to give it a go and not just be there to make up the numbers. And I always look at a team like Bournemouth as an example of, if Bournemouth can do what they've done over the last sort of 10 years or so, it's possible for Stockport County. So let's just wait and see what happens. But obviously, we're talking about County versus Luton as a League One fixture today, and I guess I wouldn't have thought we were saying that a couple of years ago. So, like I say, currently 10th in the table, Luton Town. It's not been a very good start to the season for them. New manager as well. Their last 5 league matches is a win, a draw, 2 losses back to back, and then a win in their most recent fixture in the league. Of course, they did also win their last game in the FA Cup against Robbie Savage's Forest Green Rovers. It was a 4-3 win, a dramatic win in the FA Cup last Friday night, I think it was. They've actually taken an extra point more when away in the league so far this season, Luton. They've conceded as many as they've scored, so they've got a goal difference of 0. And the 32-year-old South Yorkshireman and former Hyde United player Jordan Clark is Luton's top scorer so far this season in League One. He has got 3 league goals to his name. However, he has failed to score in each of his last 4 league matches, with his last goal coming away at Blackpool on the 30th of September. So it's not been great for them of late, I think it's fair to say. Going back again to the chat here, very surprised how well Bradford are doing. I did fancy them to do decently, but I'm blown away with how with their start. Yeah, I mean, look, I'm inclined to agree with you on that one. I always thought that Bradford would come up and give it a good go, but a decent-sized football club. Let's have it right. They've also got a lot of ex-county players in that team. That's been well documented. So I always felt they had the quality that in the playing squad to give it a good go. But to be fair, if I'm going to be honest, I thought maybe being around sort of probably where Luton are at the moment come the end of the season, I thought would have been a good season for Bradford in their first season back in League One. But with the way that it's going now and the way that they've started the season, they've been top at points. They've looked really, they're looking like a stronger candidate to win the title, or just as strong as a Cardiff who come down from the Championship. So Bradford have had a remarkable start to the season. Can they keep it going? We'll have to wait and see. But I definitely think they've had a very strong start to the season, and I think it'll be interesting to see how they go along. Same with Stevenage. Ultimately, I think that Stevenage will probably fall away a little bit. And who's the other team that went up? It's done fairly well. Wimbledon, of course. Wimbledon have started the season as well. Again, common theme here. A few ex-county players in their playing squad. Is that a coincidence? Probably not. I think that County have recruited really well over the last few years. Not just the quality of the players, but the character and personality of them. And that's shown when they've gone to other teams that's sort of carried on. So, I think they have done well. And we'll have to wait and see, if these teams can keep it going. Luton, on the other hand, they have been not aware of what that word means, but I'm going to assume it means rubbish. And he's also said relief that Reading won last night. Reading changed their manager, I think, haven't they, recently? They've certainly sacked their manager. I don't know if they brought one fresh in, but they got a result last night. I think it was against Stevenage. To be honest, I've not kept an eye on League One since our win over Port Vale, so it's been missing the Tranmere game as well. It feels like I've almost had like an international break, which is not really what I want, because we've got that next weekend when we don't play Wimbledon, so which should have happened. Which brings me on, actually. So since the last time we've been active on the channel, a couple of things I need to get through here. Since last time we've been active on the channel, Wimbledon's obviously been postponed. That was meant to be played on the 15th of November. International call-ups on Wimbledon's side have meant that that game has been postponed. It'll be, put in the diary at another point in the season. As it stands at the moment, Peterborough is currently still going ahead next Thursday. It is not this Thursday, coming up the Thursday after. So we'll keep an eye on that one. I bought my tickets. I did hold off a few days just in case, but as it stands at the moment, it is going ahead. And also, this is fresh in today as well. Both Huddersfield at home and Cardiff away have been moved from 3 p.m. kickoffs to now 12:30 kickoffs as well. So I was going to talk about that. So I've got it here. So this is what Sam Pern said earlier. Both the following League One fixtures have been changed to 12:30 p.m. kickoffs. So that's Stockport County versus Huddersfield Town on the 10th of January. Was meant to be played at 3 o'clock. Now going to be 12:30. And Cardiff away on the 24th of January has also now been moved to 12:30 as well. Now, a lot of people won't be happy about that. With every negative, there's typically usually a positive. And I suppose 12:30 kickoff for Cardiff away. The negative is you've got to set off earlier. The positive is, and I'm trying to look at the positive, we'll be back home earlier. So, or maybe not, depending on the result. So it's just one of those things, and it's to do with Sky. And I think that Sky obviously wanted to get county games on now because they're looking at where county are on the table. And as frustrating as it can be for fans, I suppose we've got to look at it and say that if Sky are wanting our games, they're wanting to show us, it's because they see us as a serious contender for to potentially win League One. And it's annoying, but we'll take it as a compliment in a way. Unrelated, but just seeing Sam tweet about the Cardiff away game is brought forward to 12:30. Good luck with that one. Yes, I just mentioned that one. It doesn't put me off. I don't have anything on Saturday morning that would particularly stop me. Is it a little bit annoying? You've got to get up a bit earlier, yes, but I'm sure it'll be more of an inconvenience for others, and I do get that. But like I say, it's one of those things we're just going to have to deal with. It's part and parcel of football, isn't it? And I think that if we want to go to the Championship, which we do, it's going to happen more often. And if we have dreams to be in the Premier League, well, it's certainly going to happen in the Premier League because there's constantly games getting moved. I mean, they have games at 7, 8 o'clock on a Sunday night now sometimes in the Premier League. So it's one of those things. TV matches, good stuff. I live in Huddersfield, so it's always nice to get a TV match rather than listen to county radio. This is what I mean. Look, for every person, it's going to be an inconvenience for and a negative for. It will be convenient and a benefit for another fan. And I think I suppose that's where people get divided, isn't it? It's about what's personally best for them. Most people, or a lot of people that were going to go to that game, will still be able to go to that game. It's not been moved onto a different day. It has been moved time-wise. So it is one of those things. As Cardiff and Huddersfield have sorted out cheap away tickets, I hope they can do the same for Cardiff versus County. As Cardiff and Huddersfield have sorted out cheap away tickets, I hope they can. Have I misread that? Maybe I've misread that. But yeah. So that's been moved. Obviously, got Cambridge in the cup as well, the FA Cup second round. So it's another League Two side. A lot of people said on that one that it should be not an easy 3 points, but an easy win into the third round. And on the face of it, I would probably be inclined to agree with people on that. But what I would say in regards to that is that Cambridge did beat us the last time we faced them. It was a bit of a shock win for Cambridge, but it was a win nonetheless. And I think we do need to be wary of that. So, look, it's a home tie as well. It's been put for Saturday the 6th, I think it is, at 3 o'clock. So standard time, no changes there, not been moved around for TV. So for those that don't like fixtures being moved around, Cambridge is going to be on that Saturday 3 o'clock as usual. So yeah, I'd like to think that should be a winnable game, to be honest, and hopefully we get into the third round like we did last season, and we didn't do too bad in the third round, I don't think, last season either. Also as well, I want to quickly talk, and I'm not going to get into it just now, but I want to mention it. I will be talking about it. The Stoke manager, Mark Robbins, has backed Nathan Lowe to stay on loan past January, which I think is interesting. Obviously, people can get with the questions. But yeah, going back to it. So I was talking about Luton, obviously, top scorer, Jordan Clark, 3 league goals this season, not scored in his last 4 league games. And obviously been a managerial change because of the poor start to the season for Luton. So in steps former Arsenal and West Ham midfielder Jack Wilshere He has, of course, taken his first job in the senior game and replaced former manager Matt Bloomfield, who was only appointed himself back in January. Where, of course, we spoke about that. And I suppose it's a surprise in some ways that he would jump from a team near the top of League One in Wycombe to go to the bottom of the Championship at Luton. It didn't really make sense at the time. And it's one of those, like I say, left a high-flying Wycombe side to make the short-term jump to the Championship. And that gamble didn't pay off because they were relegated to the third tier of English football. So Wilshire's in. He's on a mixed start to life at the helm of Luton Town. He lost his first game, first league game, 2-0 to Mansfield, before then picking up his first league win a week later at Northampton. And then, of course, we spoke about it, the 4-3 win over Forest Green, dramatic fashion in the FA Cup first round tie, which was on TV as well. So, yeah, it's been very much a mixed start. And also as well, so far, Wilshire's managerial opponents have all been like fairly well-known, sort of people in the game. His first managerial opponent was against Mansfield, Nigel Clough, son of Brian Clough, fairly well-known. His second game against Northampton, Kevin Nolan was the manager, a Premier League icon. I sort of get it, you could almost say Premier League icon anyway. Robbie Savage, and obviously he's a bit of a celebrity manager, isn't he? Really, he's kind of known more for his stuff off the pitch, really more in sort of more recent memory. And then, of course, up next, Dave Chalner, who's well known for the long throw. So yeah, not a bad start to life as a manager going up against those kind of managers. Going back to chat here, Cardiff and Huddersfield are doing a reciprocal pricing deal. Okay, I get that. Would absolutely love it if we keep Lowe next season once we get promoted. Whoa. You've said once we get promoted. Steady on that one. I love the confidence. But also as well, Nathan Lowe, I don't think there's a chance that County get to keep him if he goes... if County go to the Championship, there's no way that Stoke are going to sell him to a fellow Championship side. Now, look, Stoke are doing pretty well, I think, at the moment in the Championship. So there might be a school of thought that actually there'll be a Premier League side, maybe test him in the Championship because they don't think he can play in the Premier League. But I'm not entirely sure that we've really got much of a chance. And like I say, who's to say that he would be good enough? I mean, we talk about this quite a bit. He did have a slow start to the season. He seems to be on fire at the moment, scoring goals. It feels like he's scored in each of the last few games, to be honest. But we've had this with Louis Barry, haven't we? Louis Barry was at County. The first loan spell was unbelievable. He got injured, which was disappointing. He kind of came back at the back end of that season, didn't really manage to recreate the heights that he had in his first few months, but that's understandable because the injury he was carrying. Comes back for the second season, absolutely flying, top goal scorer till pretty much the last few games of the season, it felt like, despite only playing half the season. But he goes to Hull, he gets injured, he goes to Sheffield United. Look, it's been a bit of a mess for him. So he's been brilliant in a County shirt, Louis Barry, in League One and League Two, but he hasn't been able to do it in the Championship. Now, is that because of the teams he's been playing for, or is that because he's just not able to do it in the Championship? Would he be able to do it for County in the Championship? So the reason why I say that is because a lot of people say, "Oh, well, let's get Barry back," or we would love to have had Barry in the Championship. But let's just wait and see because we don't know if they're necessarily capable of playing at that level. With Nathan Lowe, we'll have to wait and see. He's had a good few weeks, no doubt about that, but he's got to keep it going as well because he did come in with a big reputation of scoring goals, and we do need that to continue because we do need goals in that side. Like I say, I think Wharton stepped up this season as well, but we need as many goals in the side as possible, and Lowe's doing it at the moment. But let's just wait and see if he can keep that run going, which hopefully he can. It's the team he's playing for, but I wouldn't have him back. I'm just talking about Barry there. And that's what I mean. I think it's going to be interesting. I have heard, over the last few weeks, I've started to hear people talk about it more and more, about the possibility of Louis Barry. And I think it is a debate that you could have. And I guess we could do a whole video on that. And I did actually plan to a couple of weeks ago, but I thought, is it really relevant? Is it really topical? Since then, it feels like it's become quite relevant and quite topical because it does look like his loan spell is going to be cut short by Villa in January, which is understandable. In the chat here, Louis Barry debate will be interesting, irrespective of promotion or not. Should we just move on? I mean, what I would say to that is I think that if you bring, completely hypothetical here, but if you brought back Louis Barry on loan in January to the end of the season, I think that 100% gets County over the line. I think that there'll be a championship side next season if they got Louis Barry on loan in January. But where do we go from there? We can't just keep being in this position where Villa keep loaning him out to us because he's not worked somewhere else. At some point, Villa are going to have to go, okay, it's not working. He's not quite developed into the player we thought he was going to develop into. They're going to have to cut their losses. They're going to have to probably accept a fee, which is probably less than what they could have got maybe a few years ago. At some point, something's got to be done because it feels like at the moment his career is basically just being kicked down the can. It's like a can being kicked down the road, and let's just loan him somewhere for now, and hopefully he does well. It seems at the moment, looking at it, everywhere he's been, the best place where he's played his best football has been at Stockport County. So, but even then, and I'm being extremely harsh to Louis Barry here, he's not been able to sustain over a full season as a Stockport County player. Now, first season injury, what can you do about that? Second season cut short because Villa decided they wanted to test him in the Championship. But the point still remains he's not been able to prove it over a full season at Stockport County. Last season, the form he was in, he was on absolute fire, and he would have done, in my opinion, kept that form going. And to be honest, if we kept Barry for the full season, we wouldn't be in League One now, we'd be in the Championship. But it is what it is. Well, at some point, we've got to, like what Lewis has said there, we need to move on because one way or another, we can't just keep having this conversation like, should we get Barry back? We need to get on, whether that's bringing him in and accepting he's now a permanent player, or just move on entirely. We should move on from Louis Barry. We need to bring the best out of Benno, Artu, and Malik. So yeah, I mean, Benno Andresson's had a mixed start to the season. I think he's played well at times without reward. But what I do have to do is I have to be consistent here because as much as I like him as a striker and I thought he looked really promising when he come in last season, and I still think that, by the way, I was extremely critical of Luton for not taking chances, and it wouldn't be fair on me to basically let Andresson completely off the hook for not taking his chances at games this season where he's had some good opportunities. I mean, he had a good opportunity late on against Port Vale. I think there was another game where he had a good opportunity, and it's just not gone for him for whatever reason yet. It's just not quite clicked. And when you think about those first few moments where we first saw him in a Stockport County shirt, those 2 goals off the bench against Blackpool, he looked like an instinctive finisher, the type of player that is extremely clinical in front of goal. That he comes on to, a few days later, I think it was Northampton away, scores a header. He just, at that moment in time, we thought, we've got an absolute gem on our hands here. We've got a player that can basically just score with very few chances. What we've seen since, and more so far this season, is a player which actually isn't taking his chances and does seem to be lacking in confidence. He's also, the issue we have with Andressson, which we don't have with many of our sort of other types of players, is he does play for Iceland's under 21s. So I think that his development and his opportunities to get into County's team and stay in County's team does get sort of cut short by that. I mean, he was starting the whole reason why Nathan Lowe got back into the side was because Andressson went and played for Iceland's under 21s. I think it was against Blackpool or Exeter. So he missed. So that gave an opportunity for Nathan Lowe to come in. Now, if Andressson doesn't play, and I'm not having to go at Andressson, by the way, for going picking, choosing to play for Iceland's under 21s. That's his decision. But what it does mean is he could lose his spot in that time. Now, when I look at players like Ibi Toure, who would often feature for their national side as a county player, when it really mattered most, he made the decision to not play for his country, and he missed that game. And I think it was the Wrexham game in March where he decided to play. Now, in the end, I probably wish that he didn't play in that game because he was unfairly adjudged to have handballed the ball in the penalty area, and then obviously McLean goes complains to the ref, and the rest is well documented. But also it's in the past, isn't it? But you get my point. Like, Andresson's played for his country, which is the reason why he lost that place in the first place. Then he's picked up injuries as well, little injuries here and there. So it's not quite worked for him just yet. But I think that hopefully, when we get past this international break in November, then we should start to see him get a bit more of an opportunity, and we should start to see hopefully 2 or 3 strikers all pushing one another on and all capable of scoring goals. That's the one that I've already read out. So that's where we're at the moment. So like I say, Luton tomorrow, up and down start to the season. They are very up and down as well. And the reason why I say that is because they've had just 1 draw so far this season across 13 league matches. they've only drawn one. So I think they've won 6 and lost 6, which is just so all over the place. It's unbelievable. I mean, I think we had a few teams like that last season, like Peterborough were so up and down. They would concede loads, but they'd score loads. And in the end, they didn't finish particularly high, but they did win a trophy. So I don't know. I mean, it's not gone well for them so far this season. But yeah, Luton's team as well, it does have quality in it. I mean, it's got Josh Keeley, the goalkeeper, in goal, 22-year-old. He was one of the best keepers in League One last season on loan at Leyton Orient. I think it was 45, 46 games he played in the season for Leyton Orient. Unbelievable. They've dropped off massively, by the way, so far this season without him in goal, without Kelman as well on loan. It just doesn't seem to have gone well for them this season. Ted Mengi, of course, next Manchester United Academy player. He made 30 appearances for Luton during their season in the Premier League. George Saville as well, very experienced in the Championship for likes of Middlesbrough, Millwall. He's in that team. Isaiah Jones signed for a big fee from, I think it was Middlesbrough in January. I think it was around 7 million or something like that. So you don't spend that kind of money on someone that doesn't have potential or doesn't have quality. So there are, there's quality in that Luton side. There's no doubt about that. It's all about whether or not Jack Wilshere can piece all that together. And I think Chellenham made a really good point in this interview, which was dropped earlier. He sort of said that, they've had disruptions because, the season starts with the window still open. Maybe players not fully committed to the cause, wanting to find their way out because the team's dropped down to League One. Now that they've sort of got their squad till January and they've got a new manager as well now, they should just be able to focus on trying to get the best and push themselves up the table. And I think they've had a bad start to the season, but quality, I always think the cream rises to the top. The best players will show it. And I think that we'll see Luton rise up the table, but hopefully not have any, hopefully that doesn't, we don't see signs of that tomorrow, and hopefully County do get the win. But also as well, ex-County player Milanik Ali as well is also at Luton Town. I think he was, did he sign around the same period of time as Ethan Pye? I think it might have been actually. That summer window, 22, I think it was. On paper, Luton should be sailing, but you could argue that Huddersfield have a ridiculous quality, but it's not working. Perhaps Luton get a new manager bounce, but after they play us, yeah. I mean, that's what I thought. I mean, as soon as they appointed Jack Wilshere, I thought, well, first and foremost, I thought it was a really interesting appointment for him to go for Jack Wilshere, his first job in management, senior management at least. We sometimes see this happen, don't we? We see clubs, Derby did it with Frank Lampard, Rangers did it with Steven Gerrard. Sometimes it works, but then there's other examples like Wayne Rooney where it hasn't worked. And look, I actually think he's had a lot of unfair stick. But I think that Jack Wilshere, I mean, he was a brilliant player. He had it's unfortunate the injury problems he had during his career that didn't manage to make him, I think it stopped him from being the player that he could have been, because I think he could have been one of the best midfielders in the world if he didn't pick up the injuries he got. I think that what you've got here is someone that's very keen to stay in the game. He wants to be successful in the game. He's still had a really successful career. I mean, most players, if they even achieved half of what Wilshere did, they would be happy with it. But I think that when you look at the potential he had as a player compared to where he ended up, I think it's fair to say he didn't reach the heights that he could have reached. And I think what we'll see now is he'll try and do that in his coaching career, he'll try and do that in his managerial career. And look, the best luck to him. We always want to see players that, sort of ex-players, we always want to see them go on and do well. But hopefully, sort of like you said there as well, we don't want to see that tomorrow. But the quality is there. Interesting something about Huddersfield as well, because obviously they've had a similar problem. They brought in a manager, his first job in management in Lee Grant. They've had a sort of mixed start to the season. Fans don't seem particularly on board with him. And I think that's the other thing as well. When you bring in a manager and it's their first job in management, a lot of time, they don't have credit in the bank. They're unproven. So when things aren't going well, unless you win 5 or 6 games in a row straight away, then people are going to be unconvinced. You've got to show them why you've been appointed. I think if you're already a well sort of established manager, you've got a little bit of credit in the bank because people know what you've done in the past. And I think that's the thing with Jack Wilshere. It's been a mixed start to life as Luton manager. I don't really know how Luton fans taken to the appointment, but he's had a mixed start. and it'll be really interesting to see how he does. But like I said, like you've said, and I think we all know the quality's there. They're a big club for this level. Can he piece it all together? We'll have to wait and see. I think that'll be really interesting. But I do expect tomorrow that County will show to be the real Hatters, and they will get the result that we're sort of looking for. And the reason why I say that is, look, we're top of League One. We're through to round 2 of the FA Cup. We're in a really good spell at the moment. Obviously, a 3-1 win over Tranmere last weekend as well. Unbeaten our last 4 matches in the league. Unbeaten our last 7 League One matches in the league. Won each of our last 4. 22 league goals as well scored so far this season, I think it was. Only Bradford have scored more this season with 23. A decent defensive record as well with 14 goals conceded. And we've also really turned the corner as well. I think we've made a lot of progress. I sort of look back on that Plymouth game as a bit of a deciding moment, because if you look at the results since, we've only lost 1 in all competitions. That was, of course, the game against Salford in the Virtue Trophy, which we do return to actually on Tuesday against Wigan, which will be interesting because I think we'll see some first-team players return. I think the likes of Hoskinen, we might be able to see for the first time in a county shirt next Tuesday. I think we could see Lewis Bate potentially back soon as well. And also Teo Edon as well, from the left-back from Peterborough, who got injured against, I think it was Hull, in pre-season. So I do think we'll start to see players come back. That is actually something that Dave Chalmers touched on as well in his interview, that was released earlier today. He spoke about the need or the want to not have players getting injured just as you're getting a load of players back from injury. We want to have a bigger squad, and obviously Ben Osborne, who's been brilliant so far this season since coming on loan from Derby, he has picked up an injury against Tranmere. I think it's a hamstring issue. Chalmers has said in the interview that it's not as bad. This is exactly what he said. He said, Ozzy's better than what we thought, which is good. And now I suppose the one thing we need to be careful with him is he's desperate to be back playing, which I actually think is a really good thing to be saying, that, we've got to be careful with him because he wants to be back. But we know he had injury problems coming into this loan spell. A lot of Derby fans are surprised he's even played this much football so far. So he's out, it looks like. And it will be a miss because he's been really, really reliable on that left-hand side. But Dodgson's back as well. So, hopefully he can step up against a side which he did nearly join in the summer window. Luton Town were very much in for Dodgson, and he made the sort of decision to go for the proper Hatters. So he's definitely going to be an option. Ben Osborne's going to be a miss, of course he is. But I think that, again, we talk about competition for places as well. Ben Osborne's lost his place because of an injury. It's an opportunity now for Owen Dodgson to show what he can do. Ben Osborne might be looking at this as well, thinking, well, if Dodgson does well, Edon's coming back as well. If those two can boost their chances of playing by playing well in training, maybe in the FA Cup here and there, it's going to be really difficult for a player like Osborne to get in, and he's done really well so far. So that's what we want. We want competition for places. Ben Osborne then will be looking at options in midfield. Well, okay, left back's taken. Can I get a place in the midfield? Well, you've got Lewis Bay coming back. Owen Bailey's done really well. Ollie Norwood's undroppable and never seems to get injured. So, if we can sort of avoid players getting injured, which is the benefit, is what we're all looking for, then we'll have a really strong squad with these players coming back. Malik Mothersil's going to be back as well tomorrow, hopefully. Chalmers said Brad Hills, Edon and Hoskinen will all potentially be involved in the FA Cup second round. I have a feeling we might see some of those players back before then as well, because we do play Wigan in the Virtue Trophy next Tuesday. So big opportunity, and I think we will want to play some of those players that, as I say, haven't been playing at the moment. Haven't been playing a lot of football. Where am I up to with the chat here? Many of my town supporting friends are ready to hit the panic button and drop Grant. It's hilarious. Look, I think some people, patience is a real struggle for some people, to be fair. And look, it's easy for us to say this in the position we're in. The most patience we have to show is having a first season in a new league and in playoffs, and then second season we get promoted. But honestly, patience is important in football. There's only so many spots, for promotion, and it's his first job in management. I Huddersfield that far off it really. I mean, County, a couple games ago, there was a suggestion that we hadn't had a great start to the season. You start to win a few games in a row. Suddenly, everyone's saying, well, I mean, suddenly we find ourselves top spot. So things can change very quickly. I mean, again, I'll go back to it. Look at, we spoke about the Premier League before now of Sunderland at the start of the season, but if we're going to look at the Premier League, sort of go back maybe a month or two. Look at Man United. Look at Ruben Amorim a couple of weeks ago. Everyone said, "Oh, he's gone." Now suddenly he's got manager of the month. So things can change very quickly in football. Let's not forget that. I'm still hoping that Fiorini can come good. Hopefully, I'll get in against Wigan in the cup match. I mean, I'm always wary now of saying he's going to be gone soon because there seems to be a thing with players. Stockport County the last couple of years under Challoner. You think a player's sort of done. His time at the club's finished. We had it with Conor Lemon-Evans as well. He kind of came back in, recalled from, I think it was Wimbledon or somewhere like that, for the second half of the season, played a big part in getting us over the line and sort of promoted to League One in the first place. Now, okay, he did leave that summer, but that's probably because we reached our aim, which was to get promoted to League One. And I think that, the same thing with Owen Bailey. We probably thought, well, his days are numbered. He's not going to play much football. Suddenly he's come in the last few games. He's had a resurgence. He's looked brilliant. He's looked undroppable. And that's coincided with County being in sort of unbeaten form. So, yeah, things can change very quickly. And like I say, I'm very, very sceptical. I'm in terms of, saying a player is completely finished, because just when you think a player's done at County, suddenly they find themselves in the team and they can be undroppable and play a big part. And I think it wouldn't surprise me if we get to a point where Odin Bailey keeps this form going and helps us get promotion to Championship. And then he probably would move on, similarly to what happened with Conor Lemon-Evans, because as good as Odin Bailey's been, does he have the quality to play in the Championship? He's not getting any younger either as well. Sort of, he must be 20, 27, 28 now. So yeah, we might sort of look to move him on if we go up to the Championship and bring in a younger profile of player yet again, because this is what happens. It's we're on a sort of a conveyor belt, aren't we, of players constantly looking to improve and get the player that's going to sort of help us get to that sort of next step. So yeah, Fiorini, can he have a part to play in this season? Of course he can. Does it look like that at the moment? Absolutely not. But I'm still keen. I'm still keen. I mean, I'm still keen for Adai to do well. I'd still love Adai to do well. But what we can't deny, and as much as I've backed Corey Adai, Hinchcliffe's come in, and we've not really done too badly since, have we? I think we've conceded, 2 or 3 goals with him in goal. The difference has been quite telling. So it's one of those. So we'll have to wait and see with Fiorini. At the moment, seems very much out of the picture. The strength we will gain over the next few weeks as players come back is ridiculous. Well, also as well, they're not playing. We don't have a game next Saturday, so we can probably afford to go a little bit stronger than what we might have done in the game against Wigan on Tuesday, now knowing that we don't play on Saturday. So it'll be interesting to see how Challoner manages that, because putting a team out to face Wigan in the Virtue Trophy on a Tuesday night when you've got Wimbledon on Saturday is different to facing Wigan in the Cup on Tuesday night in the Virtue Trophy without a game till the following Thursday. So it is different. So we probably won't sort of go as weak as we might have done. It'll probably be, as soon as that game got cancelled, the Wimbledon game, I suspect there'll be a lot of disappointed, maybe squad players thinking, I might not get that game now on Tuesday. So we'll have to wait and see. But yeah, I can't think of anyone who would want to not see Fiorini do well. Hopefully, he does have an impact. But at the moment, it's going to be very difficult to break into that team. Norwood playing unbelievably, Odin Bailey doing really well. Camps as well, if he can fix those injury problems, he's a really solid player. You've got Lewis Bay coming back. It's going to be difficult for Fiorini to get those opportunities. Jack Diamond as well playing in that sort of 10 position, which is where we might typically see Fiorini more often. It's going to be tough for him to get minutes. Even in good momentum at the moment, thinking 2-1 Norwood and Woods. Well, thanks for the comment. Yeah, we're definitely enjoying some good momentum at this at this moment in time. I always go with 2-1 as my score prediction, and it's probably a little bit boring of me to do that. So as much as I would typically go 2-1, and I think it's not a far off prediction, to be fair, in my head I'm probably saying 1-0 County. We're not conceding too many at the moment. Hinchcliffe's sort of loving his clean sheets as well. The last 2 games, I think it is, at Edgeley Park in the league, we've kept a clean sheet and won the game 1-0. So I'm thinking probably 1-0, and I'm probably thinking someone like Odin Bailey will probably get that goal for us. Having said that, should I really be betting against Nathan Lowe with the form he's in? We'll have to wait and see. Do County have a good start to the season? We don't really. I mean, we did have a good start to the season last season, if you factor in the first 3 games of the season. Cambridge at home, Blackpool away, Bristol Rovers at home. I think we won all 3 of them. Then we drew at Mansfield, and we had a bit of a rocky patch, didn't we, against Leighton Orient, 4-1 at home, 4-1 defeat. And then we had a bit of a rocky patch right up until really probably this point of the season where we went and beat Bolton 5-0. In the same week, we also lost 5-0. So, yeah, we don't typically have a great start to the season, although we did in the first 3 games of last season. But typically over the last few years as well, it does correlate in a very strong end to the sort of end of the season. So let's wait and see what happens. I think we'll very much be there or thereabouts, in the summer, near the end of May. Sorry, near the end of May, at the beginning of May, whenever the playoffs are, whenever the season finishes. I mean, I guess it probably finishes earlier as well, doesn't it, with the World Cup? We've got people agreeing with one here in the chat. Norwood has been amazing, and Watts has turned it on this season. I do agree with that one. Some people will say that he's always done that. People who watch this channel will know that I've not always seen that from Wootton. I think he's really turned the corner. I think he's looked fresher as well since he's come back from the summer. I think he has looked fresher. He's looked more clinical in front of goal as well. I mean, I can't remember what he's on for. Is it 9 goal involvements or something like that so far this season? He's turned me into someone who wasn't a fan of him into a little bit of a fan of him. So I think that he's having a good season, and I think that the fans are very much behind him. He's in the peak of his career as well now, Cal Wootton, and I think he will have to play a strong part if County are going to get promoted this season. What I would say is, as much as he's sort of not always appreciated by some sections of the fan base, he's always been loved by another section of the fan base, and I think you could consider him a fan favourite by many. And if we do achieve promotion, very much like what we saw with the likes of Paddy Madden and Sarcevic, if we got promoted to the Championship, I wouldn't be surprised to see if that was a player that potentially did end up going. I don't know how long's left in his contract, but I do think we would probably change up the squad quite dramatically once again. I mean, some would argue we did that this summer, but I just think that seems to be the way we're going at the moment. So big changes every year. Hinch is getting past it. We need to support Adai. I mean, we do. But the thing is, and I can't think of anyone I've not heard anyone back him as much as I've tried to back him. I'm not saying people haven't, by the way. I'm just saying when I speak to people, most people are not convinced by him. I think that when you look at it and you look at the mistakes near the end, it's pretty clear. The one area of his game, the only one I can really think of, because he's good on the ball, things like that, is it's the ability to claim crosses. It's the ability to use his frame, use his size to come out for the ball and really just use that to the best of his ability. His height, his strength as well, that I'd imagine he should have. He doesn't use that to his advantage, and I think that's the one frustration. I think it's emphasised by the fact that he is so tall. I mean, if he was 6'2" as a keeper and he wasn't coming out claiming crosses, I still think he would get criticism for it. But I think it's enhanced, and it's even more because of how tall he is. And people go, how can you be 6'7", 6'8", and not be claiming crosses? Some might say he doesn't even have to jump for him. Do you know what I mean? He can literally just lift his hands up in the air like that, and he's got them. So I do understand that, and that's when I got to the point a couple of games ago where I just had to say, look, as much as I want to back him, I do agree with what people are saying, and I can completely see why they want to Hinchcliffe in goal. And obviously, people have done that, and we've not looked back since, have we? The form has turned around massively, and the clean sheets have been there. Now, I also think that a big contributing factor to that has been the sort of settling on a back three for the most part, particularly with Alowu and Pye as those wide centre backs, and more or less chopping and changing between Hills and Connolly in the middle. What has really helped us is I think it's putting Hills in the middle of the three rather than him playing him as either right back or wide centre back, because that's where he gets massively exposed. When he got sent off against Burton, I think he was playing right centre back of the three, and I think it was Connolly. And I think both of them were good. One was going up for the header. I think Connolly went up for the header, and Hills was meant to be marking the guy. He lost his man, and he ends up pulling him back and getting sent off. That wouldn't happen if you had an Olowu, because Olowu would have the pace to deal with that. Hills realised he didn't. He had to make the well. I don't know if he had to do it in that way, but he did do it that way, and he was punished for that. Now, in the end, we still won that game because County seem to be amazing when they go down to 10 men. If County go down to 10 men tomorrow, I think that sort of almost increases our chances of winning the game, because that's how it's gone so far this season for us. Hinch is a proper legend, and people jumping on any mistake doesn't help. Adai and Hinch keep the goal very differently too. Yeah, I do agree with that. I think they're different styles of goalkeepers, aren't they? Like everyone's got strengths and weaknesses. We all know with Hinchliffe, his kicking's not the best. Sometimes he'll go to take a kick either from a goal kick or it's passed back to him under pressure, and it will probably end up in the I don't know, out the stands somewhere. Probably off to Mars or somewhere. Whereas we know with Adai that doesn't typically happen. His distribution is a lot better. But what Hinchliffe does do is command his area a lot better. And I suppose when you're looking at it at the moment, do we want someone who can kick a ball better? Do we want someone who can command the area better? We probably want someone who can command the area better. And that is why we've gone with Hinchliffe the last few weeks. And I think that's why we've seen an upturn in results, because there is that element of the defence just feeling a lot more settled. He obviously just gives off a better energy, just gives off a bit more composure to that defence, and that's why we probably looked at a little bit better than what we did previously. And I think that's something that you can't even really work on as well. Just making people feel relaxed and feel like they can do their job, knowing that even if I was doing everything right, that might, I don't know if that would necessarily fix everything. So yeah, we're just going to we'll just have to wait and see. It will be interesting to see what happens in the summer with the goalkeeping situation. There were obviously rumours in January when Adai wasn't playing, but he was going to go out on loan. He was going to move on. That didn't end up happening. Obviously, Hinchliffe got injured against Wigan, and it presented the perfect opportunity for Adai to step in for the second half of the season. And I think he did. He did all right. But I just think that Hinchliffe, as you've sort of said, and it's been well documented, Hinchliffe isn't getting any younger. But do we have enough confidence in Adai to take that number one spot, or do we have to go, dip into the market for someone, for someone else, or do we already have those options there? We've got the likes of I think it's Max Metcalf and I think we've got Wogan there as well. So could we well see them, either them two potentially step up as the new goalkeeper? We'll have to wait and see, but I think it's going to be really interesting to see in terms of sort of more short term and just purely focusing on tomorrow against Luton. At 3 o'clock, I think that it'll be interesting to see the team we put out. We obviously know we're not going to have Ben Osborne out left back. It'll be interesting to see who goes with it. Right back, I think it will probably be on Yango. I think we'll see the same defence, sort of like the likes of Pai, Olowu, Hills, Connolly. I don't see much changing in that team. I think it will be Hinchliffe. I think it will be on Yango. I think it'll be Olowu, Connolly, Pai, Dodgson, Norwood, Bailey, Jack Diamond, and then I think we'll go with Lowe and Mutton. So I don't think it'll be too much of a change in personnel in that starting 11. But having said that, you just never know. We might see someone in that team sheet might surprise us. One thing I would like to see happen as well, and potentially we'll see that happening at Wigan, is I would like to see a little bit more introduction of the younger players getting minutes. Whether that be a game like Wigan on Tuesday or an FA Cup game potentially. I know that was it Joe Assels who scored the 2 goals against Wolves under 21s. He was on the bench. I think it was it for Blackpool or Exeter a couple of games ago, but he's not been back in the squad since. I'd like to see him get an opportunity on the bench, maybe get some game time in either an FA Cup game or a league game, because I think that we've got young players coming through, and I think that we need to really use that to our advantage. We are a club that wants to start going maybe a little bit of a change in model. We want to start basically producing players and selling them on. And I think that we've got, if we want to do that, then we've got to start giving these players minutes and allowing them to show what they can do. Hinch is 37. I love the bloke. He's been outstanding, but we need to commit to a new number one sooner rather than later. Well, look, I think the perfect opportunity to do that will be if we go up to the Championship, because the budget should hopefully be there for us to invest in a goalkeeper, which is at the level of the Championship. I think the problem County sometimes have at the moment in terms of recruitment is because it's recruiting what league you're going to be in. Because I know they'll sit there and say, we've got a plan for if we're in League One, we've got a plan for if we're in the Championship, but you've also got to plan a couple of years ahead as well, because if we're looking at potentially being in the Premier League in the next 5 years, which I think Mark Stott said it is something he wants to do, then it's committing to lengths of contracts as well. So if we want to go up to the Premier League in the next 5 years, are you going to sign a goalkeeper which you think would be good for the mid-table Championship side and then sign him on a 3 or 4 year deal? Or are you going to say, I'd rather get him on maybe a 2-year deal, but he doesn't want a 2-year deal? So it's very difficult, I think, when you're in between leagues and you're sort of looking to go sort of this rapid rise almost. It's very difficult to constantly get recruitment right because it's constantly changing. If you're a Championship side, which is consistently in the Championship, and you kind of know, we're going to maybe push for playoffs or whatever, it's a lot easier to recruit because you're not constantly changing the recruitment every year. I think what County have done the last few years is every year the recruitment massively changes because we've almost surprised ourselves with how quickly we've gone up the leagues. So I think that with the goalkeeping situation, was Adai signed in mind for being capable to be in the Championship, or was he signed when we went up to League One because this is a keeper we thought could do well for us in League One? If we go up to the Championship and we only sign him to be a keeper for League One, then he's served his purpose, hasn't he? It depends on how you look at it. So I think it'll be really interesting. Hinchcliffe, I think, has got the number 1 spot to the end of the season now, unless an injury occurs. I can't see him putting in performances that are so poor to the point where we would drop him. And I think that he's 37, but he's extremely consistent still. And that was the one thing I sort of held against Hinchcliffe, and sort of the idea of bringing him back in goal. I almost felt that, can you really bring him back when he's not been playing week in, week out? Will he still be able to perform to the same ability as previously? That was the question mark I had. Well, he's proven up to now that he can do that. So I think Adai's going to have it tough, to be honest. I'd be happy for us to be top 10 Championship side for the next 10 years. I think saying that now, I think most people would agree. But I think, again, I think football, like I say, things change very quickly, and we get very used to things, don't we? So if you tell someone who's in the National League, would you like to be in League One for 20 years in a row? They'll say yes. But then when they're actually in League One for 20 years in a row, they'll say they're bored of League One. So I think that it's all about how quickly, things change very quickly. If we were in the Championship for 10 years, we would probably, especially if we're like, keep every year, keep being there or thereabouts in terms of the playoffs, we'd eventually go, no, we belong to be here. We should be here. This is the minimum, and we'd be probably sort of be demanding more. So I think that Championship at the moment for the next 10 years sounds great, but actually, if we went to Championship next season and we consistently kept getting in the playoffs every year for 5 seasons, we would suddenly look at it and go, we need to go up to the Premier League. The position you get to changes how you look at stuff massively. I mean, put it this way: if someone said to you 5 years ago that we're going to have the guy who's just bought the club 11 months ago or whatever at this point in time is going to bring in a manager in a year from now that's going to take us up from the National League to the Championship by 2026, I don't think many people would believe that, and I think most people say, "Oh, I'll take that in a heartbeat." But then, like, when you actually get to the Championship, if we get there and we're there for so long, then eventually we're going to feel like we belong to be there, and we'll want to push on again, because that's just the nature of football and football fans, isn't it? So we'll have to wait and see. I've had that coming out. Premier League, it'd be one season to get the dash and drop back down, to get the dosh and drop back down. I'm not sure about that. I'm not entirely sure about that. I think that teams that go up to the Premier League and don't prepare to be in the Premier League are the teams that tend to go back down. I think that if you're, if you plan to get there, and I mean like a real plan, not like, we hope to get there. If you plan over a period of time to get there and then you eventually get there, then you're going to be a lot more prepared for it than if you don't. So I think that if County get there, it's because they've planned and worked to be in that position by that point. And I think that if you do that, then I think you give yourself a fighting chance of staying in it. So every time County have gone up the leagues the last couple of years, they've never just been there to make up the numbers in that league that they've gone up to. they've always given it a really, really good go in that first season, and then second season they get what they want, which is the promotion. So I think that if we went up to the Championship, I don't think we'd just be there to make up the numbers. I'm not saying we get promoted or even be in the playoffs, but I think that we would be punching above our weight, or what's perceived to be punching above our weight. I think if we went up to the Premier League, as mental as that sounds, I don't think we would just be there just to make up the numbers and get relegated. I think we would give it a really, really good go to at least stay in the league. So, yeah, that's how I look at it. All the investment is to get us to the Championship. We then have to establish ourselves as worthy of being a Championship club. Then we focus on going higher. And I absolutely spot on. And that's exactly what I mean. Like, if we go up to the Premier League, it's because we plan to get there. You know, if we get to everything we've spent up to now, like you say, the investment is to get us to the Championship. That was the goal for by 2027. But then Mark Stott's come out a couple of weeks ago and talked about, I think it's like they're drawing the next 5 years, and within that next 5 years they want to be in the Prem. So that's sort of what you're saying. Like, that next 5 years of what that will look like, it will look like getting to the Championship either this season or next season, and then doing certain things year upon year to get us ready to be in the Premier League. So then when we do get to Premier League, we give ourselves a fighting chance of staying in it. I don't think we would, unless we sort of like almost surprised ourselves again and went quicker than what we thought. If we did go up quicker than that, then yeah, I think we probably would go straight back down. But then I also think we would probably manage that a lot better than some. I don't think we would go in the same directions that, let's say, a Luton, who went up, got that day out at Wembley, went to Premier League, and then sort of didn't really do much in the Premier League, come down and then gone back down again. I think that County would be a lot more stable with how they managed that, because I think they would know if they went up that quickly that they would probably go down. So yeah, I think we'd be fine. I think we're in safe hands, and I think that whatever happens, we'll maintain that stability. Even with Stocks back in, the financial muscle to compete in the Premier League would still be beyond us. But that sort of goes into into this comment here, where I was saying about how we need to establish ourselves as being worthy of a Championship club. Like, the plan is to buy players or develop players, young players, and as I say, develop them and then sort of sell them on. So, like, if we can keep doing that, I think we'd be fine for it. I mean, I say the club I've always looked at is Bournemouth. That's the example I've always looked at in terms of stadium, size of stadium, and what they've done. A lot of those players as well for Bournemouth, when they stayed in the Premier League, they would have been there for almost like the full journey from League Two upwards. Some had been there from League One, and they were still there maybe the second, third, fourth season in Premier League with them. So that's sort of the model I've always looked at and thought was possible. So we'll have to wait and see. But like I say, the fact we're even sort of talking about the fact we're in League One, we're top of League One, we're playing a team against Luton tomorrow, who were in the Premier League 2 years ago. That tells us how close we could be to it if we get things right. And also as well, like anything in football, a bit of luck going your way as well, because you've always got to have a little bit of luck go your way as well. It would be fair to start, if we did get into the Premier League, for him to take a significant chunk of cash from the incoming funds for him to claw back some of the investment. I wouldn't begrudge him of that. I don't think anyone would begrudge him of that, as long as the football club remains stable and still capable of having the finances to keep everything going. If we would still be able to run sustainably and him take a little bit of money out of that to, as you say, reclaim what he's kind of put in, I don't think anyone will have any problems, because if we got to that point and we did that, then he's given County fans everything they've ever dreamed of as being a County fan. So I don't think anyone would begrudge him of that. But again, if he takes that money from the club and leaves us in a bad state, then I think it's different. But I don't believe he would do that, and I don't believe that will happen. But like I say, the fact we're even talking about it just shows how quickly we've come on in the last 5 years. And what does the next 5 years look like? Let's wait and see. But yeah, like I say, Luton tomorrow, looking forward to it. I think we've got a really good chance against an inexperienced Jack Wilshere's manager. But Challoner spoke about it actually before and said that he's he did his, I think it was his pro license or one of his coaching badges with him. So I think that's interesting. He's already given us back something we only dreamed of 5 years ago. Exactly, hit the nail on the head. But yeah, like I say, so Luton tomorrow, confident on that one. Score prediction wise, I'm going to go with the 1-0. to be honest. And I do think at the moment I'm feeling Odin Baylor will get that goal. So we'll have to wait and see whether or not I change my mind when I wake up tomorrow for my intro of the vlog. That, of course, will be back tomorrow as well. So we're back with the match vlog as usual. Back up and running as well. Might be looking at doing the Tuesday game. Not entirely sure. Don't even know if it'd really be worth doing a vlog for either, because it's not a bigger game, is it? But we'll wait and see. A couple of things to think about. But yeah, just happy to have be back. I'm just happy to be back at County tomorrow, back at Edgeley Park for the first time in a few weeks, and of course hoping that we get another 3 points and hopefully a good performance as well. I always come back to football is an entertainment business as well. We do want that, and hopefully we'll get all those things tomorrow. But more importantly, County 3 points, and hopefully can keep that top spot, or certainly keep ourselves in a good position to maintain it. I'll get back to that soon. So yeah. But I just want to say a big thanks to everyone who's tuned in live, got your thoughts in as well. If you are watching afterwards, do comment, do like the video, it all helps. Do subscribe if you are new. It's always appreciated for everything that goes into this. We'll end on this 3-1 Wootton. He's gone with 3-1 Wootton brace and Norwood goal as well. So it'll be interesting to see if that one works out for you. But yeah, big thanks to everyone, and hopefully we'll see you guys tomorrow with the vlog. Bye for now, and have a good rest of the evening. Bye for now.